Good morning, everybody. I will try to move quickly through my presentation so we stay on task. Just a very brief outline of my presentation. I want to give you a context of where Brighton is located in the Denver metro area and give you a little history of Brighton for those of you who are unfamiliar with the city. I'll then give a brief overview of Brighton today and move into why the city has an interest in the South Main Street area. With this, I'll give an overview of the South Brighton sub-area in terms of its location, size, existing uses, and zoning. I'll also discuss the University of Colorado at Denver's graduate level planning studio's efforts on this project, and give you an overview of the city's planning efforts to date, including our next steps. Then I will conclude with a list of foreseen challenges. Brighton is approximately 20 miles northeast of downtown Denver and is also 20 miles northwest of DIA. US 85 and I-76 are the main travel corridors that run north and south, and they pretty much form the western and easternmost boundaries of the municipality. We have Highway 7 to the north and E470 toll road to the south, and also 120th Avenue. I should probably use the pointer. So here's Brighton with the yellow asterisk in relation to Wheat Ridge, which is down here. So my drive this morning was probably a little bit longer than Kent's, but. So a history of Brighton. Brighton began as a railroad station at the junction of the Denver Pacific, which is now the Union Pacific, and Denver and Boulder Valley Railroads. This station set forth the future growth of Brighton. Brighton was incorporated on July 26th of 1887. And for those of you that are quick with numbers, you probably recognize that we recently held our 125th anniversary celebration. And for those of you that enjoy useless trivia and tongue twisters, 125th celebration is also known as a quasi-quicentennial. Say that 10 times fast. I obviously cannot. Anyhow, Brighton's initial growth was primarily due to the siting of that train depot and the fertile agricultural land surrounding the area. In 1902, when a state constitutional amendment allowed Denver to absorb some of the then surrounding suburbs and formalized as the city and county of Denver, the remainder of Arapahoe County was split into Arapahoe and Adams counties. And in 1904, Brighton became the county seat. According to the 2010 census, Brighton's population is 33,352 persons, with a median age of 32.2 years. The average household size is 2.95, and we have 11,387 housing units. Approximately 56% of the population is Caucasian and 28% is Hispanic, with the remainder being African American at 2%, American Indian at 2%, and Asian at 1%, and other as 11%. Home ownership level in Brighton is about 73% compared to 68% for the state, but our median home value is considerably lower than the state, $200,000 to about $236,000. A majority of Brighton's growth occurred in the 90s and 2000s, and most of the growth took place on the eastern edge of the city along I-76. Again, with the pointer, this area is generally known as Bromley Park and was master planned and annexed and zoned in the mid-80s when a lot of the municipalities were doing annexation wars, if you remember that era. That growth primarily includes your typical suburban single-family detached residential subdivisions and big box developments. Since 2008, like many communities, we've experienced a significant slowdown in residential and commercial construction. What we're now seeing is a focus on small-scale infill development and redevelopment of existing shopping centers. One of the key areas that we're seeing this interest in is the area generally denoted by the red circle here on the slide. This area extends from Bromley Lane on the south to our historic downtown off of Bridge Street, or Highway 7. And in the past 2 years, the intersection of Bromley Lane and US 85 has seen the redevelopment of a commercial strip shopping center and 2 lots carved out for fast food restaurants. 4 blocks east of the intersection, a 2-story vacant office building was recently redeveloped into the Kaiser Permanente medical offices, and a new Chase Bank was placed on an infill site. The city recognizes we will continue to see commercial development as this is an important gateway into the community. So, what has prompted the need for a sub-area plan for South Main Street? The main impetus is the city has received federal money that's been earmarked for safety improvements to the intersection of US 85 and Bromley Lane. Again with the arrow, this is the intersection. The improvements include an additional left turn lane from southbound US 85 to eastbound Bromley Lane, And the realignment of the lanes on Bromley Lane that provide north and south access to US 85 will be realigned so that the left turn signals may operate simultaneously. They currently run on a split phase, which of course increases the cycle time. And the realignment of South Main Street from its current location further east to align with the curb cut on the south side of Bromley Lane, which will allow for a full movement intersection. So this is a schematic overlaid, obviously, on the aerial to show the new alignment. That strange cul-de-sac has been part of the plans from the beginning. We, being the planning department, is not ecstatic about that. I don't think it's a good plan, but as most of you probably know, state statutes require access to properties, and that is a very strange triangular property there. And it is being currently used for a gas station, and they do have their pumps here, so we have to keep that cul-de-sac in place for now. The current intersection operates as a right-in, right-out only, and the city, here it is, sorry, right-in and right-out. And the city has heard from numerous property owners and business owners over the years that this limited access has devalued their property and made businesses along the southern portion of Main Street unviable. This is undoubtedly true, as the business at the northeast corner of South Main and Bromley has been vacant for more than 10 years, and many of the properties along the corridor are underutilized. With the realignment and full movement access, South Main will gain even further development interest. So this is the South Main Street sub-area highlighted in the gray. Again, it's located at the northeast corner of 85 and Bromley. It's approximately 89 acres in total area. The existing zoning is primarily light industrial, and the northernmost portion is already zoned downtown. As of 2010, US 85 had 34,000 average annual daily trips, and Bromley Lane had 12,000. Main Street was clocked with 3,700. CDOT projects 44,480 average annual daily trips for the year 2030. So obviously there's going to be increased traffic and increased viability at this intersection. Getting into the existing uses within the sub-area, as you'll see here from the slide and the aerial, a good majority of the sub-area contains industrial type uses. That's anything from warehousing to outdoor storage to manufacturing. We also have some commercial within the sub-area. It's primarily auto-oriented, gasoline stations, tire repair, car washes, used auto sales. We do have some limited restaurants and personal services businesses in the sub-area, but it's very limited. In terms of residential, we have two main areas of residential. The one to the north is the affordable senior housing, and the one on the south side is a non-conforming mobile home park. It has about 28 units, and it is full. It's not in great condition, but there are people that live there, and that's something we need to be cognizant of as we move forward with any plans for the area. Where do those people go? Kind of public uses, we do have the railroad right-of-way, Union Pacific Rail, running through here, which is at a diagonal. And we also have a city park that's been developed partially in the railroad right-of-way, and we also have a fire station located within the sub-area. And in terms of vacant or underutilized properties, we do have quite a few of those within the sub-area, and I've only highlighted two of the main ones here on the slide, and they are directly off of Bromley Lane, so they again have high visibility and great access. The one on the further left is the old Chevrolet dealership, and that's the one that's been vacant for about 10 years. The property owner had unreasonable expectations for the sale of his land, which they often do. And this is sad to say, but he has recently passed away, and his wife is trying to put it up for sale. So, however unfortunate, there is a potential that this might get sold to a property owner that can do something with the land. This slide just kind of shows you all of the existing uses at one time, and as you can see, they're scattered throughout the sub-area. And there are some conflicting land uses, obviously. There's housing, residential, our new senior affordable housing, which was built in 2006, about 60 units. That's that northern yellow area. That's directly across from industrial uses and backs to commercial. And of course, our non-conforming mobile home park is also next to an intensive industrial. So some conflicting land uses. That would be great if we could get some of that cleaned up. But again, where do some of these people go that need to be moved? So, in December of 2011, a professor for a Studio 2 graduate course at UCD sent out a request for a semester-long real-world planning project. And in the 12 years that I've worked at Brighton, we've never really engaged with students at the university. So I felt like, this is a great opportunity to let them know about Brighton and to potentially get some free work, quite honestly. So the professor and I discussed an outline for the project, and I met with the students in January to set forth the study area and establish the goals and needs of the plan. The students began by performing a walking tour of the sub-area where they inventoried the uses and obviously took photos of the existing conditions. Thereafter, they met with key departments including Community Development, the Parks and Recreation Department, Housing Authority, Utilities, Streets, the Economic Development Corporation, the Urban Renewal Authority, and of course the Fire District, just to gather their data and to assist them in their planning process. Afterwards, the students put together a community inventory document, which is shown here on the slide. And the document included a review of related planning documents, including the city's comprehensive plan, which designates the sub-area for downtown land uses, and our land use and development code as it pertained to the sub-area. It also highlighted the cities and the sub-area's socioeconomics and set forth a detailed analysis of the sub-area's existing and surrounding land uses, current zoning, ownership status, land utilization, parcel assemblage, and the years that parcels were sold and structures were built. From this inventory document, they listed out the issues and opportunities of the sub-area, and the main issues included the majority of the properties being zoned for light industrial and many being used for industrial purposes, the potential for multi-jurisdictional approvals for redevelopment of the area, which would include, of course, CDOT, Union Pacific, RTD, and the Urban Renewal Authority, to name a few, removal of non-conforming uses, especially as it relates to the mobile home park, narrow and disconnected pedestrian ways throughout the sub-area, lack of transit stops or routes through the sub-area, and lack of signage guiding people into the area or the downtown to the north. The students' list of opportunities included realignment of South Main Street and the provision of a full movement intersection, adjacency to the intersection of US 85 and Bromley Lane, as it is a major gateway into the community, increased development interest in the area, an existing pedestrian bridge over US 85, joining the west side of the city to the sub-area and downtown, which is located right in here. The designation of the Union Pacific rail line as a future corridor for next tracks, continued population growth, and the availability of vacant or underutilized parcels for new development or redevelopment projects. The students then prepared their final sub-area plan document, and the document included a future land use plan, which is denoted on the screen. As you can see, the students recommended rezoning the properties adjacent to Bromley Lane and those properties nearest to the Bromley and 85 intersection to a commercial designation, shown in red. And to the north of that area, seen in purple, the students proposed the creation of a new downtown mixed-use district, which would be designed to enhance walkability and provide a mix of uses. This area would help act as a gateway into the community and would provide a vital connection to downtown Brighton. Other elements of the plan included the continued use of downtown zoning for the properties in the northern portion of the sub-area and the creation of sub-area specific design standards related to site and building design, signage, and new street cross-sections for South Main. The students presented their plan to the City Council, and I'm pleased to say the Council looked favorably upon it. Naturally, there were elements of the plan that ruffled some feathers, especially the use of condemnation powers. That usually does. But overall, the City Council was appreciative of the students' work and gave them high praise for their plan and their presentation. So our city planning efforts to date. The Urban Renewal Authority has hosted 2 separate design charrettes with key staff and economic development. The purpose of these design charrettes were really just to get all of us to kind of get thinking about this area and try to think outside the box. The first charrette, we produced some very conceptual level drawings related to potential land uses within the sub-area. And the second charrette resulted in the drawing seen on this slide. And as consultants sometimes do, the sub-area was expanded from the area in the top left of the graphic here. This is the South Brighton, or South Main Street sub-area here. And after the second charrette, it got expanded a little bit further. This plan now envisions continuing the city's street grid system and inserting a village retail area between our existing King Soopers here to the Walmart. The village street would obviously have small-scale retail shops and businesses. The plan also includes redirecting South Main Street across the railroad at a new location with an underpass or an at-grade crossing. And our city planning efforts to be implemented. The students obviously collected a lot of key data related to the physical conditions, the block length, the land uses, etc., and the socioeconomics, be that the inventory of existing businesses, property ownership, housing inventory, etc., that we can certainly utilize, and their plan was well received by the City Council. It'll still be necessary for city staff to draft a plan for the sub-area with community input. So one of the first steps will be to perform a market analysis, especially in the current economic climate. Hopefully this market analysis will allow both city staff and Economic Development Corporation to fully understand if there is a sufficient market demand for some of the proposed uses, especially in regards to a pedestrian-oriented mixed-use development, and if so, to determine at what scale and with what characteristics. Next, it'll be important to establish a steering committee comprising diverse stakeholders to help guide the planning process and have stakeholder meetings with individuals representing a distinct interest in the area. Thereafter, we hope to have a project kickoff meeting with the public to initiate the broader participation process. And from there, we would create and finalize the plan and move into implementation by rezoning some or all of the properties. Obviously, that would depend on the plan. Ideally, we'd like to utilize the Urban Renewal Authority and the Economic Development Corporation to market and promote the sub-area and to assist in the financing and partnerships and jump-starting development. So as far as our foreseen challenges, we have numerous challenges. The biggies include the current economic climate, of course, and I think Ken said the same thing at the end of his presentation. The fact that Brighton has historically let the market dictate the types and character of land uses. Along with this would be creating a vision and plan for the area and sticking to it. With the current economic conditions, there seems to be a mentality amongst some of the city leaders, unfortunately, that any development is better than none. The other item to note is that council members are term limited so that the vision may not carry forward and sometimes plans get shelved. Also, another big factor will be getting buy-in from the property owners, especially in regards to potentially downzoning of their properties, creation of non-conforming properties, and setting realistic sale prices for their land. Lastly, the council has previously expressed concern with other developments in the community in regards to their competing with or taking away from the historic downtown area to the north. Good morning, everybody. I will try to move quickly through my presentation so we stay on task. Just a very